magnification. So the pineal here is said to be that kind of gland that's going to fill your body with light, and I'm going to show you how in a few minutes. Because thou canst not see with thy natural eyes, I will give thee a divine eye.
Third eye.
That's from the the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, thanks. Gita chapter 9. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 6:38. That means that when we use the word heart, we're talking about I've looked into this, the origin of the soul. At early gestation, day 1, or in the chick, and it's a little later in the human, at the part that's going to form into the heart, you will get a movement or pulsatile movement, meaning there's a contractility of a structure with some blood vessels starting to form. That contractility will develop into a heart with 4 chambers. In my viewing of that contractility is the origin of the soul. And that will take its location in that right atrium of the heart's 4 chambers in an area we call, with specialized cells that we call the sinoatrial node, which is the pacemaker of the heart that sets the pace. That's the soul. There's a communication between that heart and the pineal gland that is direct. And the deeper you get into the knowledge of this, the more it makes more sense. That the heart represents the origin of the soul, that is the core of the you. Those blood vessels are streaming off from the heart eventually and forming blood vessel tracts and channels throughout the body, carrying the life force. And perhaps...
I'm sorry, I got to cut that off right there, but I want to just share with you the fact that I always try to express to everybody that though your brain does hold thought and information and all that stuff like that, the thoughts and informations that's there can only be generated into any type of action from the heart having a desire to use the information for a specific task. So most of our movement and most of our efforts at attaining anything or discarding anything is based on the reality of the impressions that's inside of our hearts. Now this is Dr. Ann Brown. She's a very brilliant lady. I hope that you all enjoyed it. That was me who put the book up there. The Bhagavad Gita is the name of that book. I read that book. I just started reading it and it's very interesting. It's kind of hard for me to get at because I've been reading Muwada Ashby books, which it's the same information but the formats in the Bhagavad Gita is harder to read than Muwada Ashby books. And I've been reading his books, even though I don't have them now. I really miss them. But this book has some of the same information, but it's not prepared in an easily understandable manner like his books are. Okay, so I'm just throwing a lot of stuff out there for everybody who's done got interested in this. If you've been following my YouTube page, all this stuff that's coming at you is going to make more sense once you go get your own books and your own DVDs. And if you are avid at trying to discover knowledge of self, then that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving you places you can start. And this lady right here, along with Jewel Pukru, and along with another lady I'm getting ready to show you. Hold on, I'll be right back. It's a good start, good place to start. Peace and blessings.
But a warrior has got to be able to go against what seems to be popular.
Okay, right away she gets off to the good start because she's talking about warriors. And that's what we are missing as people. Our men are sorry as hell. Okay, the only thing you want to do is try to mack each other woman, drink alcohol, freaking everything that's destructive you have learned from our enemy. Okay, and that's all you want to perpetuate. That's all. She's going to show you why you should be trying to denounce all of the decadence of this world and be returning to your God self. I love this lady because she really gets down to the nitty gritty, and I just want you to see if you would share the same conviction about her that I have. All right, let's go at this.
A warrior has got to up the ante, push the envelope. But in order to do that, we got to be clear about who we are and what it is that we want. And that's what the so-called leaders have not been able to give us. They have no agenda.
That's right.
So that means that you're always compromising.
They just want to be too
Because
American.
you're always acting out of fear. If leadership really meant something, then you would never act out of fear.
See, I don't.
That's not to say you don't get afraid sometimes.
But you overlook it and keep going.
But fear can't be your agenda. Fear cannot be your agenda. So these leaders are clearly not warriors. And we're talking about warriors.
They're sellouts.
Now, the warrior spirit makes you able to confront whatever needs to be confronted and let the chips fall where they may.
That's right.
And what we've done is to develop a program, a plan, and so forth, which is to say, let us go the way of the least resistance. What's the easiest way? What's the way that's, not going to get people mad at us? That's not a political agenda, and it's not a position of a sovereign people.
That's why we're not sovereign.
So I think what I'm really doing is questioning this whole thing of leadership. We've watered down the concept of a leader. We have Uruguayized the concept of a leader. So that now, who we consider to be leaders, you got to be a star. And when I say a star, I don't mean a black star. I mean like Hollywood. That's what I mean. You got to be popular, and you got to say the popular things. See, I was trained by none of John Henry Clark. And that gives me the power to say what I think is truth to my people.
That's right.
And that's what he did.
And I love him
Even
too.
when it was unpopular among our people, he had to tell the truth. And he said, watch out now. He ain't working for you. Watch out. And people came to him and they warned him. They said, Professor Clark, you really want to say that? You really want to take this position? He said, yeah, because this is the truth. Now that's who I was trained by, so I got to do the same thing. Okay? But when we talk about leader now, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the person who wants to remain popular.
Be American.
We're talking about the person who may be glib, got away with words, but they're really not saying anything. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the person who develops this personality thing that makes them all about them. We're talking about the person who always wants to stay in the limelight. Person who's ego-tripping. So I'm suggesting that we scratch that term, leader. And that what we need are organizers, we need warriors, we need victors. Me, I'm in it to win it. There's nothing less than that. That's what Baba Kobe said on Friday. We in it to win it. So we do whatever we have to do to make that happen. And we say whatever we know is truth or believe is truth or have thought about it. Okay? Problem is that the so-called leaders are not doing political analysis. They're not doing historical analysis. So therefore, they're not in a position to be a vanguard. You see, they're not in a position to teach because they're not doing the work that you do when you want to take your people where they need to go. So I'm using that here, and I'm saying that we need to more think in terms of what we need to be in order to be warriors, what we need to be in order to be organizers of our people, and then one of the most important things, which I will be talking about, is being visionaries. That's what we're lacking. If a person gets up in front of you and they say they purport to be your leader, or somebody presents them as a leader, you have a responsibility to confront them, not in a negative way, but to say to them, what is your vision for our people? And I will guarantee you that most of the people now that are called leaders by the media would kind of scratch their head a bit. They would, shift a little and do all of that stuff because they have not thought about that and do not have a position with regard to what is a vision of victory for our people. You gotta have that, because that's what tells you how to organize. And that's why we don't have an agenda, because the people who are supposed to be developing all of that don't do it. They don't have an agenda. So that everything they do is reacting to what the enemy does. You see? We have to even have a vision that goes beyond the presence and existence of Urugu. We have to be able to envision a world with no Urugu, an African world. Then what do we want it to look like? What do we want for our children in our world? We have to have the courage to construct our own reality. And that's what Garvey was talking about.
That's right.
Because he said he looked around, he didn't see what he thought should be there, and so what did he do? He didn't get depressed about it. He didn't get defeated about it. He said, I'm going to build the government that we need to have. Whew. Where do you get that kind of boldness from? So we got to go all the way back to Garvey, who said he would come again. He said he would be here with us, no matter how long it took. And I'm telling you that the way he comes back is in our work. Not honoring him in words, or pomp, and all of that stuff, but honoring him through doing what he did. How many of us have the courage to do that? The man took on the world for us and in our name. But let me go on.
Dr. Ani introduces Dogon African thinking concepts.
Okay, it's about power, y'all. And anybody who talks about anything else or tries to make it about anything else, they just shucking and jiving. Just all about power. Okay? What I want to do is I want to introduce some concepts, because one of the things that I do, that I've used as a process, rather than a methodology, because it takes me, it transforms me, is to study our ancestral civilizations, our ancestral languages, and get from them concepts that we can use to anchor our thoughts. And then use those concepts